We aim to help young spine surgeons recognize situations where these techniques may underperform, understand why the complications happen, and how to overcome them. We will also discuss comparative techniques and share lessons from actual cases. So a quick recap about the techniques in posterolateral approach. In this, we focus on posterolateral access, which includes both transforaminal and para-PSLD. Both techniques are used to treat disc herniation and stenosis while preserving midline structures. The key difference is in the entry point and instrumentations. In transforaminal endoscopy, we use more lateral entry point through a Cambin's triangle and operate with a transforaminal endoscope, which has a smaller working channel. Whereas in para-PSLD, we use a more medial entry point, which docks on the lateral lamina. And we use a stenoscope, which has a larger working channel, which provides better access for the bone work. Each approach has its own anatomical constraints and technical considerations. So we will cover pitfalls in 5 broad areas, namely clinical outcomes, surgical technical challenges, anatomical constraints, instrumentation limitations, and comparison with other techniques with literature review. So clinical outcomes for transforaminal endoscopy are generally comparable to the microdiscectomy. Studies shows good leg pain relief and functional improvement, especially in well-selected cases. ODI and VAS scores improve significantly and patient satisfaction is high. But these results are possible on proper execution. Errors can quickly lead to suboptimal outcomes. Large series shows complication rates of around 5 to 11%, which are lower than open surgery. Dural tear and nerve root irritation are uncommon, especially in experienced hands. However, many complications occur early in the learning curve, which is something young surgeons needs to be prepared for. A key pitfall is incomplete fragment removal, especially in sequestrated or migrated discs, which can lead to recurrence. Studies reported recurrence rate of around 10 to 15%, especially in inexperienced hands, often necessitating reoperations. Precision and completeness are critical. Rushing or understanding the fragment size is a common mistake. Transforaminal endoscopy has a steep learning curve. Operative time and complication rates drop significantly after first 20 to 30 cases. Until then, missed fragments, wrong trajectory, and incomplete decompression are common. That is where proper mentorship, simulation practice help shorten this phase. When well done, endoscopy offers similar or better long-term outcomes than open discectomy. Patients often experience less post-operative back pain and return to function earlier. Coming to technical challenges, one major challenge in monoportal endoscopy is the 2D visual field, which lacks the natural depth of perception. Manipulating instruments while interpreting angles, angled view takes practice. Initially, this leads to error in orientation. This is where cadaver labs, simulators, and mentorships are crucial. Fluoroscopy is essential for safe access. Misinterpreting images can result in incorrect docking and incomplete decompression. At alpha S1, the need for repeated fluoroscopic adjustment increases the radiation exposure. Using pre-op images wisely minimizes shots, and even considering navigation system where available can reduce this risk. In monoportal system, you are essentially operating one-handed through a tight tube. The rigid confines of bony foramen limits angulation, making it hard and ossified tissue removal especially difficult. Endoscopy views are magnified but distorting image, especially in transforaminal cases where you are viewing anatomy from the sides. It is easy to misjudge the depth or angles, especially when navigating around the root or fragments. This misjudgment can result in unintentional nerve root or dural traction. Surgeon must learn to mentally map the depth in 2D views. Endoscopy relies on continuous irrigation. Even small venous bleed can cloud the field. And there is limited space for tamponade. If pressure is too high, it can theoretically cause intracranial hypertension. Key is prevention. meticulous hemostasis, careful blood control, blood pressure control, and knowing when to convert to open if needed. Kembin's triangle is a classical corridor for transforaminal access, but its size varies. At lower lumbar, especially L4 and L5, the space narrows as discussed by Dr. Subith. The exiting nerve root lies closer, increasing the risk of mechanical or thermal irritation. In tight triangles, foraminoplasty is often needed, but if overdone can lead to instability. At L5S1, access is frequently blocked by high iliac crest. Doubt transiliac is a feasible option, but it increases the difficulty level and reduces the maneuverability. To bypass this, a steep trajectory is required, which risks injuring the exiting nerve. For most patients, an interlaminar approach is safer and more effective. Pre-op MRI should always be reviewed for crest height relative to disc. Posterolateral roots struggle with large central herniation or far migrated fragments. You may decompress the ipsilateral side but miss the contralateral or deep fragments. Study shows that these cases often end in incomplete decompression or revision. Choose alternative routes like interlaminar or translaminar when needed. The dorsal root ganglion of the exiting nerve is highly sensitive and just cranial to your entry point. Pressure, thermal injury, and drilling near it can cause post-op dysesthesia, often burning or electric pain. Para-PSLD helps avoid this by docking medially, sparing the DRG from direct trauma. If your entry angle is too medial, instrument can slip into the abdominal cavity, especially at high lumbar and thoracic level, risking bowel or ureter injuries. Also, the lumbar segmental artery lies anteriorly and may be injured during foraminoplasty. Always plan based on axial MRI and keep the needle posterior to the vertebral body on lateral fluoroscopy. Standard endoscopes offer a magnified but 2D image. The narrow field of view limits situational awareness. Important structures might just outside your field. Surgeons must mentally reconstruct a depth and spatial relationship. 3D and 4K scopes are emerging but not widely used yet. Monoportal instruments are long, slender, and delicate. They remove tissue in small bites and have limited power against calcified and ossified tissues. Sometimes tools break or dislodge, requiring retrieval or even conversion to open surgery. Using high-speed drills helps, but introduces vibration risk near the nerves. In monoportal endoscopy, the non-dominant hand holds the endoscope, leaving only one hand for all the surgical maneuvers. This limits retraction and efficiency, especially in complex cases. In difficult anatomy, awkward angles and limited mobility can make some decompression inefficient or incomplete. Major intraoperative issues like large dural tear and uncontrolled bleeding are difficult to manage endoscopically. Suturing isn't feasible in tight spaces, so conversion to open is often the safest choice. Surgeon must be prepared physiologically and logistically to convert quickly if needed. This isn't a failure, it's good judgment. Coming to comparison with other techniques, a meta-analysis in 2023 compared these techniques to approaches which showed comparable overall outcomes but differences in reach and access. Transforaminal is ideal for lateral and foraminal pathology and offer better early post-operative comfort, whereas interlaminar is preferred for central stenosis at L5S1, where transforaminal is anatomically restricted. Transforaminal endoscopy works well for soft disc herniation, especially lateral or foraminal. Para-PSLD is better for bony foraminal stenosis since it allows safe visualization and bone work around the exiting nerve root. Key tip is to match approach to the pathology. A soft disc may not need aggressive bony decompression, but a hypertrophic facet will. Biportal endoscopy allows the use of two hands and a wider field. This gives better control in a complex decompression. However, the muscle trauma is more in biportal. Outcomes are similar to monoportal, but the technique is different with its own learning curve. Compared to the tubular or open techniques, endoscopy offers less soft tissue damage and a quicker recovery. There is no universally superior method. Surgeons must tailor the approach based on skills anatomy, goals, and tools available. Posterolateral approaches tend to fail when pathology is too broad or too central or too far migrated. Trying to remove a large migrated fragment through a narrow Cambian's triangle is risky and often incomplete. In such cases, alternate or a combined approach should be planned upfront to avoid stage surgeries. Coming to cases of a DRG irritation and dysesthesia. This was a 58-year-old lady with severe left lower limb pain due to L5S1 foraminal stenosis and a collapsed disc space. TLD was performed and radicular pain resolved immediately. However, she developed a persistent burning over the great toe, a dysesthetic situation which lasted about 6 weeks. This gradually improved without intervention. The L5 DRG lies in the foramen, and in collapsed spaces it is extremely close to your working zone. Any minor contact, mechanical from instrument or thermal from the RF or bipolar, can trigger irritation. This was likely the reason for her symptoms. So the key is precision. Create enough working space before entering, keep RF tip away from the DRG, and never force traction. Especially in collapsed foramens, plan your entry carefully to avoid DRG proximity. Second is a dural tear. This was a typical L4, L5 left paracentral herniation. During TLD, a ventral dural tear occurred during foraminotomy with remers. There was no neural injury and it was left in situ and delayed mobilization for 48 hours to reduce the risk of CSF related issues. So dural tears often happen due to blind or forceful discectomy.
यहाँ पर लोग
Especially when the epidural
बहुत अच्छे से ग्रो करें हैं अगर उनमें कैपेबिलिटी और स्किल है.
Always decompress gently, especially when adhesions are expected. Adequate foraminoplasty early in the case gives you space to work safely. Avoid traction or deep midline dissection and stay within the epidural zone. Another challenge with L5S1 disc is the high iliac crest. This is a 40-year-old male who had a left leg pain due to L4, L5 disc herniation. However, access was difficult due to high riding iliac crest even at L4-5 level. We planned a transiliac TLD which requires precise trajectory, alignment and careful drilling. Such case reinforces the importance of meticulous pre-op planning to avoid complications. Using Patgaonkar's classification, we evaluated iliac crest height in relation to the disc level. It helps determine if your working channel will need to pass through the iliac crest or can be planned suprailiac. Planning your entry on both axial and sagittal MRI is the key. Guesswork here increases the risk of poor trajectory or complications. Last risk is incomplete decompression. This patient had a dorsal migrated disc at L3, L4 with a vertical facet joint. A pure transforaminal approach would miss the dorsal portion of the herniation, leading to incomplete decompression. We preoperatively planned a combination of transforaminal endoscopy and contralateral interlaminar approach to access the migrated fragment safely and completely. So this case highlights the importance of using FEBDIS algorithm in your pre-op planning. The algorithm accounts for facet angle, annular facet angle, the anterior and posterior migration, anterior and posterior pathology, disc migration which has already been discussed. When you recognize red flags like far migration and vertical facets, you know transforaminal won't be sufficient. The foresight prevents incomplete decompression and reoperation. So this chart summarizes key features of each approach. Posterolateral routes work well when indications are correct, but DRG risk, narrow access and steep learning are the real barriers. Always plan with the pathology, the technical reach in the mind, and don't fall into one technique for all mindset. Thank you.